Listen to this. Arcadia, California Mayor Eileen Wang agreeing to plead guilty after being charged with acting as an agent for the Chinese government.
Working as an agent for China.
Acting as an agent of China.
We have yet another Chinese spy. Her name is Eileen Wang.
Sky 7 over the scene of what police are now calling a double homicide.
For the first time, California Governor Gavin Newsom has publicly acknowledged that he is open to a run for the White House.
In L.A., homelessness has jumped 16% in a year. Half of Americans living on the streets are in California.
Well, let me ask you a question that ought to scare the living daylights out of every red-blooded American who still loves the Republic. What if the once golden state of California, that beautiful, abundant paradise we all grew up dreaming about, hasn't just gone Democrat? What if it's been quietly hollowed out and in fact turned into a beachhead for the Chinese Communist Party right inside our own borders? Because on May 11th, 2026, the mayor of a beautiful all-American suburb in California resigned in disgrace and pled guilty to a federal felony. Her name is Eileen Wang, mayor of Arcadia, this picture-perfect city in Los Angeles County. It's known as the Community of Homes. I lived in Pasadena, not far from there. My father-in-law grew up in Arcadia, and that's important to show just how much it's changed, because demographics is destiny. But, you know, Arcadia, it's got tree-lined streets, it's lush parks, excellent schools, million-dollar homes, all at the base of the San Gabriel Mountains. And Hollywood has used it for decades as the backdrop of many classic films, classic Americana, Tarzan jungle scenes at the Arboretum, Fantasy Island, Seabiscuit, even Matilda, scenes from that were filmed there. But anyway, while campaigning for and serving in public office, Mayor Eileen Wang, she was secretly working as an unregistered agent of the Chinese Communist Party. She was a communist spy. She and her fiance ran a phony news website that was pumping out Beijing's pre-written propaganda. She edited the articles, she posted them, and she reported the click counts back to her handlers like a good little foot soldier. And she even texted, "Thank you, leader," after obeying orders. She was denying the mass detention and forced labor of over 1 million Uyghurs in China, all of this while holding elected office in the United States of America. And she now faces up to 10 years in federal prison. And this sounds like a spy novel, but it's not. This is from the United States Department of Justice. And something that I want to mention that many people are fearful to mention, maybe, is that Eileen Wang, she wasn't just some lone rogue making a personal choice. For many of these Chinese nationals and first-generation immigrants still tied to the mainland, serving the CCP isn't optional. It is expected. It is programmed into them. The Chinese Communist Party's United Front Work Department, they treat overseas Chinese communities as an extension of the regime itself. So you can think of it as Beijing's sneaky global influence machine. It's a special arm of the Communist Party that targets Chinese communities overseas. They funnel money to friendly politicians, they shape news stories, and they build extensive, expansive networks to push China's interests in America without firing a single shot. And so, look, from childhood through family pressure, education, party networks, you know, these particular Chinese that come here are taught overwhelmingly that their success in America is supposed to serve the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. You gather intelligence, you push the party line, you influence local politics, you report back. Beijing doesn't see them, whether it's, you know, college campus students, you know, who've come here from China or other visa holders, et cetera. They don't see them as free Americans who chose a new life. It sees them as assets. Eileen Wang did exactly what the system is built to make people do. She was a foot soldier in a silent political army that's been marching through our suburbs, our universities, and our city halls for years. Now, how in the world does a communist Chinese spy end up as mayor of a wholesome American suburb like Arcadia? And the answer is rapid, dramatic demographic change, plus these mechanics of that particular local government. Just look at the numbers. In the 1980s and 90s, Arcadia was still a classic majority white California suburb. Then came the massive influx after the 1965 Immigration Act. Monterey Park nearby went from 3% Asian in 1960 to over 60% by 1990, America's first suburban Chinatown. And Arcadia, by the 2010 census, was already 59% Asian. And we're talking about Chinese. But they make up 58 to 64% of the city's 55,000 residents. The vast majority, again, are ethnic Chinese. Non-Hispanic whites have fallen to around 16 to 20%. So that is a near total reversal in a few short decades. And the San Gabriel Valley saw its Asian population surge 22% between 2000 and 2010, while the white population dropped 17%. You've got voter rolls that changed. Local elections have low turnout. Organized blocks carry enormous weight. And Eileen Wang was elected to the 5-member city council in 2022. And this is important because a lot of people don't know this, but in Arcadia and many small California cities, the mayor's job doesn't come from a big citywide election. It's a rotation among the council members, often annually. So they all serve as mayor. So one council seat in a heavily transformed district, and suddenly Beijing has a rotating chair at the table of power in a nice, affluent suburban beachhead. And that's how the infiltration happens in a republic, not with tanks, but with ballots, with these bylaws and demographic momentum. And this isn't one bad apple. This is the whole barrel rot. And California has the largest ethnic Chinese population in America. And the United Front treats the whole state like prime real estate. Remember Fang Fang? Christine Fang, the suspected Chinese intelligence operative running around the Bay Area from 2011 to 2015, bundling campaign donations for Democrats, placing an intern in Eric Swalwell's office, cozying up to politicians all over the region. U.S. intelligence tied it straight to the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. And who can forget? A staffer in Dianne Feinstein's office fed political intelligence to Chinese handlers for nearly 20 years. Now, recently, all of this happened right under the Biden administration's nose. Joe Biden, of course, spent years downplaying the China threat. Back in 2019, during the presidential campaign, when asked if China was a serious competitor that could eat our lunch, Biden waved it off with an infamous line, "Come on, man."
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man.
He acted like China was no big deal economically or strategically. And you fast forward, to his presidency, and these influence operations keep popping up. While he held cozy summits with Xi Jinping, he delivered weak enforcement, open border, Chinese nationals, single, no families pouring in. And meanwhile, you have Hunter Biden's deals with the CEFC, a CCP-linked Chinese energy firm, had emails talking about the big guy getting his cut, believed to be Joe Biden. And so when the people at the very top show that kind of vulnerability at a minimum, if not being compromised themselves, well, what do you think's going to happen in this country? And then there's Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass. Back in the 70s, she joined the Venceremos Brigade. She went down to Castro's Cuba to harvest crops in solidarity with the Communist Revolution. Follow the money. Over $1 million flowed to her campaigns, Mayor Bass's campaigns, from bankers with documented United Front ties. She put those same donors on her transition team. Her circle is full of pro-Beijing Chinatown power brokers who praise the CCP for building a strong China. Los Angeles, the second biggest city in America. If the CCP has leverage there, it is a national security nightmare. And that's what this should all bring up for people. Look at Hollywood. The Dream Factory has completely surrendered. And a long time ago, China is the world's second largest box office. Studios now self-censor like trained seals. No Taiwan, no Tibet, no Tiananmen, no Uyghurs. Anything to keep that Chinese money flowing. And this is the same ideological game we saw in the 1940s and 1950s, just with richer paymasters. And folks, this goes way beyond red versus blue. California sets the tone for the whole country on energy, tech, immigration, culture. What happens there does, whether you want it to or not, ripple across America. Our pension funds are tied to Chinese markets. We've got our streets, as Newsom famously did, clean spotless for CCP dignitaries while veterans sleep on sidewalks. And we have economic dependencies that create weakness. So how deeply compromised is California when a mayor in wholesome Arcadia pleads guilty to being a Beijing agent? When LA's mayor has million-dollar United Front donors? When Hollywood bends the knee for Chinese cash? When Gavin Newsom jets off to meet Xi while his state collapses in homelessness, crime, and exodus? So, this adds explosive urgency to every election. The fight isn't just Democrat versus Republican anymore. It is CCP communism versus the American Republic. Open borders, energy poverty, soft on crime, endless spending. These aren't just failed liberal policies. Look at it a different way. They're weakening America exactly the way Beijing wants us weakened. Divided, broke, dependent, and unable to stand up to them. And this is how republics die. Not with a bang from outside invaders, but with 1,000 little cuts from inside, enabled by those who should know better. I mean, California was once the shining symbol of American possibility, and now it is a stark warning. So the time to wake up is yesterday. The time to push back hard is overdue, because if we lose California, we risk losing America.